This is the Art of Network Engineering podcast. In this podcast, we'll explore tools, technologies, and talented people. We aim to bring you information to expand your skill sets and toolbox and share the stories of fellow network engineers.
Have you been wronged by mystery hubs within your network? Does the fear of a fiber cut keep you awake at night? Have you ever said to yourself, is it DNS? No, this problem can't possibly be caused by DNS. Son of a, it was DNS. Or perhaps do you suffer from you touched it last syndrome? If you answered yes to any or all of these questions, then you've made it to the right podcast. Our resident networking professionals with fairly decent reputations are standing by to collaboratively complain right along with you because, hey, we're all in this thing together. Welcome to the Art of Network Engineering.
Holy shit.
Yeah!
We're going to have to edit that out. I that up, but that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was like, I don't know how to take that from you. That was an amazing weight that I cannot carry.
You just did.
We're in it, man. Here you go.
Jeez,
Here you go, Seth.
dude, Christ.
You aced that one, man.
I don't have to do that again, do I?
No.
No.
That's the power of
could.
Andy and editing.
That was amazing.
The magic of editing.
I'm not editing
right?
shit. We're in it, man. This is the show. Go ahead, AJ.
See, I feel like I gotta do the contrast, right? Because we've got such the professional canned intro from AJ, and you got the rockin' music that got Andy put into YouTube jail for a little while, and I gotta break it up a little bit.
I love it.
No, that was great. And you know what? That's a perfect segue into where I would like to start this evening before we get to the wins. So if we've learned anything over the past few weeks, it's that trying to balance a successful podcast and the rest of our lives has shown challenging. I'm here this evening. I've been on the road for the last 2 weeks. Andy's here. He was on vacation for a little bit. Dan is joining us, but I know he's been up to other things. Aaron, unfortunately, can't make it again. He is very busy with some life stuff right now, and he will be joining us again soon, hopefully. But to help make sure that we can keep this train going, we have invited Tim to be a permanent fifth podcast host with us. And so he is now officially, as he has accepted the role of podcast host. So Tim, welcome to the team. Thank you so much for joining us. We love the energy and ideas and the enthusiasm. By that beautiful intro, we love what you bring to the team. Excited to have you here. Thank you so very much.
And one thing to add to that too is Tim does a lot of behind the scenes work, like on our blog site. He does the faces of the art, or actually the faces of the journey, and so that the journey is our Discord server, and so he goes through and he will interview several people within that Discord server, and they make it to that blog. So he does a lot of stuff on the back end that maybe you don't hear on the podcast as much.
Not to mention the CCNA series that just launched recently.
Yep.
No, I really appreciate that, guys. I think I said in my original episode with you, that I've got, a real passion for networking and technology, and I really kept it kind of within myself until about a year ago when I really met you guys and saw what magic you were doing here, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Glad to have you on board, man.
Absolutely. Well, with that, let's get into some wins. Some more wins.
Let's hear him.
So this week we have the Incredible Goose started a new job at an MSP. Congratulations, Incredible Goose. Gotta love the new job.
MSP.
This next one is pretty good because there's a couple of funny jokes that followed after it. So it's Psycho Met said that he's now 5G certified, and 3 people asked him what certification that was.
Yep, I was one of those people.
He implied that he got his second shot, and somebody asked, or somebody said like, "Oh yeah, I got my Moderna," and someone replied, "Moderna, that's like getting a Juniper cert," which I thought was
Wow.
funny and somewhat inappropriate. Shame on you for making that comment. That to compare the two, that's horrible. But anyway, it was really funny. Next, Bill Murray got his JNCIA missed AI. That's a relatively new one for Juniper. So congratulations, Bill, on knocking that.
Very
one in.
cool.
Big win for Matt D this week. Passed his encore exam.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Congratulations,
Nice.
Matt, for
Nice,
locking that
Matt.
in.
The
He got a
mountain.
hell of a score too. I'm not going to say it because I don't think Cisco wants you to say your scores anymore
Really?
because they're taking them
Oh,
off the
really?
score sheet. If you've seen the updated score reports, they take the scores off.
You don't get a score now?
You don't get the score on the score report because a lot of people take pictures of their score report and post them online, and you're not supposed to show your score or the minimum passing score. That's part of the NDA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Now,
so
was
that's why
it-
they don't
was
put
it
that stuff in the
Matt?
report.
Was it Matt that said that he was actually supposed to take it next week, but with the holiday coming up, he decided to switch it to
Yeah,
this week just
yeah.
to get it done?
Yep. That's right.
You
did
made
say he pulled
you
it up.
made the right choice, Matt.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So when did he take it then?
I think it was like just today or
Yeah, I think it was today or
Yeah.
yesterday. Today
Oh,
or
okay.
yesterday.
I've seen
today.
a lot of score reports with scores on them over the years, and not one of them have helped me pass the Cisco exam. So I don't exactly understand the logic behind the NDA, but yay, it's gone now. Good job.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
I'll rock on, man. That's amazing. Another reminder: I need to start studying for my encore again. Yes.
Like you needed another reminder.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, in that vein, to remind Andy that he needs to start studying again, let's talk about time management.
Mm.
Hey AJ,
Mm.
I don't think I have time for this.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you came to that conclusion somehow by weighting your priorities and deciding what you can and should put your time to.
So, does anybody on the panel feel that they're good at time management? Let's just get that out of the way.
No sir, no sir.
Yeah, I feel like I'm probably the absolute best at time management. If I no,
I don't
no,
feel like I'm good at it,
absolutely-
but I feel like I'm getting better at it.
All right.
I would
okay,
I would probably vote AJ too, strictly because of the back to the leadership and management roles that he has. He's not only had to manage his own time, but a bunch of other people's as well. So I vote AJ.
That's fair.
As like the de facto expert in time management.
Yeah, you're a SME on this
That's
topic.
all right. All right.
Well, within the four of us, I think you have to be AJ. So hope you were ready.
I'm happy to share my experience and wisdom as I always am.
Let's hear it, man.
I think time management, the biggest thing for me is eliminating things that either, waste my time or don't add value. Right. And, the add value thing, I think is like big. Like if you spend any time in like manufacturing, then you understand like the whole, manufacturing thing that Toyota came up with. I'm really bad at remembering what that was.
Is it
exactly.
the lean? Is
But
that
like
what you're talking about?
the Kanban and I don't know, they come up with a bunch of rules. Like if what you're doing right now doesn't add value either for the organization or for the customer, then why are you doing it? And so
Right.
that's the simple takeaway. Like if what I'm doing doesn't add value for me and my family, or if what I'm doing doesn't add value for somebody else, then why am I doing it? So, I used to play a lot of games and that would be a huge time suck. And so I stopped playing games, but then I realized like, I need a mental break. So maybe there's a balance in there where, I do play games, but I don't let it suck so much of my time away. Spending too much time on things that you feel are important and not enough time on things that maybe actually are important. So for example, you might spend a lot of time studying for a certification, but if you're not spending time with, your friends and trying to grow those relationships, like when you want those friends later on after you've passed your certification, like what's really nice about passing stuff is having people around you that are excited for you when you pass those things. And so there's definitely balance in there. So, eliminating the waste, prioritizing everything, and giving everything like a really solid priority, like, because you're always going to have competing things that want some of your time. And so when you have a competition, like, hey, there's two things that need my attention right now, you have to have like a clear line in the sand. Like, okay, the decision has to be easy, because you probably can't sit there and think for like a half an hour, like, oh, well, I really need to do this, and that kind of thing. So, for an example, like, friendships are very important to me, but I've narrowed down my friends that I'm willing to give my time to, right? Like, to me, it's not the quantity of friends, it's the quality of the friendships. And if I had friends before that maybe I didn't have the most quality friendship with them, and so I've stopped giving them some of my time, and you know what? No hard feelings, as it turns out. So now I have some really great close friends that I absolutely love. And so when it comes down to certain things, like if a friend needs me, then I can generally like put aside whatever I'm doing, unless it's a family thing, which then they'll probably understand. So having the priorities, the clear lines, all that stuff helps. It takes a long time to really set that stuff up and make those kinds of decisions. But, and to be honest, I'm still getting there. I'm still learning on some of those parts, but that doing all those things over the past couple of years has really helped with my time management.
So let me ask you this, AJ. When I hear time management, my mind immediately goes to creating and sticking with schedules. And that kind of scares me, because I feel like if anything slips, then it's all gone to hell. And I feel down. I feel discouraged. Does time management mean that you have to create and stick to these strict schedules?
I stopped doing that too. Because stuff pops up all day long. For me, it's, I have a priority. I have some time. Let's work on that priority. If I get to either completing it or to a stopping point, now I have some more time. What's the next priority that I can work on?
Okay, that's fair. Because that's one thing, is I feel like I get discouraged because I'll end up putting a little too much stress on sticking to something, or making sure that I always do it, because I feel like I get into being kind of like an all or nothing person. And if I'm going to do it, then I need to do it right. I have to set a strict schedule. And then, like I said, things slide and you just get discouraged and you slide further back than you were before.
Sure.
So yeah, I like the idea of setting a smaller amount of priorities and really devoting the time that's needed to those, and then just be able to go to the next thing. But in order to do that, you have to understand what those priorities are, and how to set 1, 2, 3, 4, etc.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And those priorities, that like the weight may change. So good example, I haven't written a blog article for my personal blog until like a couple of weeks ago. So I'd gone like 4 months plus without writing a blog article. And so very slowly, the priority of writing a blog article started to rise and rise and rise. And it finally got to a point where it's just like, I got to write something, kind of thing. And so I found myself with some free time. I was like, it's time. That's it. I'm going to make this a priority, because I want to put something out, new on my blog. So that kind of stuff happens, right? Like, there's definitely the priority of the right now kind of thing, like what needs my attention right now versus, what maybe doesn't. And then over time, if you continue to put other things off, like if it's been a really long time since you contacted your friend, you should probably make that a priority, so that way you can keep those relationships going. Because that, friendships, balance, all that stuff it's part of mental health too.
So is this all in your head, or do you write things down on paper? Do you have digital apps that you use to track this stuff? How do you do it?
So there's a couple of different things. I don't track everything in an app. There's a lot of stuff I have in my head, which sometimes is good and sometimes is bad. Some of it can become more emotionally driven than maybe fact-based, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it just may get to a point where I feel like I need to take care of something, even though it might not be, a fact. I definitely use apps to track my tasks, and I keep track of my tasks and prioritize things that I need to do. Like, some of it's just a recurring thing that needs to happen every once in a while, versus, a task or two that I need to do to complete a project or maybe a larger task. I have like an inbox that sits here on my desk. It is my mouse pad, because if I put it in my own way, that forces me to look at it and take care of it.
Okay. That's a good little trick.
And so, even my wife has gotten into the habit. Like, if there's something that she finds that I need to take care of, she puts it here on my desk, and then I can't really use my mouse until I, look at it, analyze it, take care of it, file it either in the trash or otherwise.
You are a better man than I, because I absolutely love my wife, but I absolutely hate it when she puts stuff on my desk. So you are a better man than I. And it's okay. She told me earlier that she listened to my first episode, but she quit after that, so we can go.
Well, that's better than my wife's done. I don't think she's listened to a single episode.
Same.
Yeah.
But it's true. Putting stuff in your way to force you to look at it. Yeah, I can definitely see how that works. It just makes me angry, but that's me.
You should have seen my desk when I got back from being gone for 3 weeks.
Oh, man.
I had a lot of stuff I did take care of before I could use my desk.
So what kind of apps do you use for keeping track of your task?
My favorite is Todoist.
Todoist.
So, you have an inbox. What's nice is that if I think of something that I have to take care of, I can just open my inbox, add the task, and then later on I can triage the task and, give it more information. Like, is it something that's actually due today? Is it something that's due tomorrow? Is it something that's due several weeks from now? Can I categorize it? I have a list of projects. Most of them are work related because that's how I track all of my project tasks for work. I keep track of tasks related to the podcast, related to my personal blog, family related things, personal things, and so forth. So I even have like super long-term goals of a list of books that I eventually want to get to reading. There's no end date. There's no due date. I'll get to it when I get to it. But it's just stuff that, I'm trying to keep track of that I want to eventually do at some point.
So do you have every single day pretty much like somewhat of a schedule on every day?
No, I can't do that.
No.
Okay. Because if I've learned anything, especially with this job, I can't plan to that degree because somebody, I'm not a religious person, but some higher power laughs in my face and says, haha, F you, when I try to plan my life to that degree.
I got you.
And
so
everything just comes crashing down. So I used to do that. I used to try to do that. And I just been smashed to bits so many times by outside forces that I don't set myself up for that level of failure.
So when you say you have like a due date on something, right? Is it like, do you give yourself like, hey, I need to get that done this week, and then you figure out a day that you're going to get that done?
Right.
Or is that kind of how your due dates work? Because for me, I tried doing something similar to that, and I was like, all right, I need to do this on Wednesday, right? Or, whatever the day may be. But it just seems like I could never get it done because I had that written down that I needed to get it done that day. It's like the world's against me on getting whatever when I put a time limit on it like that, And so I was constantly, hey, this is past due, because I'm not sure if I had Todoist or what I had, but it would constantly like send you an alert saying that, hey, you're past due on this task, or whatever the case may be. And so I eventually just turned it off because of that. And
so I will say, like, if there's certain tasks like that where time's ticking and you're getting closer to your due date and you're not holding yourself accountable to it, or other things have hit you and made themselves more of a priority, either because they are, or because like your boss came in screaming like, oh, my internet's not working, I can't see cat videos, kind of thing, and you got to go like take care of that, right?
It's squirrel videos.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Same thing. I block time out in my calendar, and it becomes on our team, we kind of refer to it as a cone of silence, right? Like, I've got to drop myself into cone of silence so I can take care of this thing. And, you put yourself out of office, you mark yourself unavailable on Microsoft Teams. And that way, typically speaking, people know not to bother you. And if they are bothering you, then it's probably something worth bothering you about. But it's just trying, not always.
No.
But it's just trying to set yourself up for that kind of success, right? Like, if I know that I need to get this done, then I'll block time on my calendar and make it look like I've got meetings all morning to make sure I give myself the time to be able to do that. Otherwise, if I don't block the time on my calendar, somebody else will.
Right. That's a good way to think about that.
Yeah.
So I want to take a real world example here, and it's one that directly applies to all three of you. And it is this podcast in the community that you guys started almost a year ago. So I'm not saying that you guys didn't do anything outside of work before this, but how did you guys, one, decide it was going to be okay time-wise to try to start this? And two, how did you work on fitting it into your schedules? Because again, I'd like to hear from each of you, but how much time a week do each of you think you put into this endeavor, both between the community and the podcast, and how do you make it work? And how did you decide it was okay to dedicate this time or the amount of time it takes to put this all together?
One word comes to mind, which would be sacrifice, because I had to sacrifice time with my wife. I had to sacrifice time I would have been spent studying. Before, this podcast kind of came from a study group that AJ created, an Encore study group. And then he said, hey, a couple of you guys want to do a podcast, and here we are. And right around that time, the night that we were spending 2.5 hours studying for Encore, we did this instead. So at that time, it was sacrificing study for that. We sacrificed 1.5 hours, 2 hours tonight. Whoever's editing will sacrifice another hour or two. So for me, like, time management to me seems to be a lot about, I tried to do some research the past couple of days, and we picked the topic, and I'm like, well, how do people do it, right? And no matter how many articles you find in Psychology Today and TED Talks and the most productive people, like, nobody has it. There isn't one answer,
right?
So to me, that means nobody has it figured out, and maybe it's, it'd be nice if we could have just found the book and be like, oh, well, here it is, and you're done. But
kind of what I'm hearing is it's kind of different for different people, right? Like, some people I know, they are dead set on a schedule and they do not, break their schedule. But then you got someone like AJ who, he was talking about, he tried that and he couldn't make it happen.
So were they
right?
not as busy as other people? Like, if
I don't know.
You're setting a schedule, and this is why I'm saying it, I've been sitting back listening to you guys, and I've tried so many methods and so many apps and so many like techniques. And so I block my calendar and Outlook at work. For me, like, when I was a younger guy, time management wasn't a thing. I just floated around, did what I did. Life was easy. You get a career, you get a family, you get more responsibility, and then time gets scarce, right? When you're 19 sitting on the beach, whatever. You don't have to manage time. You just got to get beer at 11 when the stuff opens, right? So
you're managing your time.
Yeah. It gets
your beach time,
right? But the bigger your life gets, and the more responsibility you get, the trickier it gets. And it seems to be. So what I do at work, because my biggest challenge, the time that my family wants and needs from me, and the time that my career wants and needs from me. There's that quote of, like, the finest line anybody will ever walk is between, like, career and family. So those two things both want my time, and I have to try to balance that. And it seems like in IT, if you're at if you let it, your career will consume you and destroy you. And, you can work 15 hours a day and be on call and still, there's those people, right? It's a badge of honor. Hey man, I've been working, 15-hour days for, 3 weeks. I'm a hero. So, what I do at work is I block my time in Outlook. I know all the stuff I have to do, and I block it. But what happens for me, and that's why you made me think of it, Dan, those people that schedule all their time and stick to it and it works for them. I see something I have to do and I'm like, all right, I'm going to block 2 hours for that. If it takes me longer, or if a call pops up that I have to be on, which now I can't do my engineering or whatever, like when something else comes up. So, we're talking about prioritization, right? What's important? What are your priorities? What are you going to decide you're going to do? What app are you going to use? But if I block 9 to 11 tomorrow to work on something, and then something pops up, well, that thing gets pushed. I move it down in my calendar. I would say 50 to 70% of everything I block in my calendar moves from day to day to day. Now, I don't know if I'm just too busy. I mean, I guess everybody's busy, but how does that person you're referring to that has a strict schedule that they stick to?
Yeah.
Because if I have a 2-hour script I got to write, and that 2 hours something else pops up, like you're saying, AJ, something always comes up. Like, it just, you have to stay flexible in this industry, I think, because stuff's always coming up. But I don't know how in Sam Hell I'm supposed to get all these changes written and infrastructure built because stuff comes up. Like, I have a ton of calls. And I don't know about you. Can you guys write scripts and build infrastructure at the same time that you're on the phone for hours? Like,
probably not a good idea, but
okay, yeah, because again, I talk to people who are like, well, of course everybody does that. That's what you do. No, like, it just, so for me, I can't be on a call and write engineering stuff because it is ones and zeros, and if something's off, it's going to break. So
Right.
I've really, I'm about to shut up, sorry, but I've really had a hard time with time management with work. And in my perception, it's just because there's too much work and not enough time and no respect for time blocks. If you block time in your calendar, I started blocking lunchtime because I don't want to work at lunch.
Mm-hmm.
But in the culture I'm in, nobody gives a shit, and they'll book time, they'll book meetings at lunch. Like, so I guess there's like culture in there too, but I don't know. I have a hard time with time management, but I think, like you guys have said, you got to decide what's important. You got to come up with a system, and you got to have boundaries, because if I block that time and people step on it, well, now it's up to me. Like, so a lot of what I've done,
calendar.
yeah, right. Like, I skip a lot of calls, which hurts me, but I got to get my work done. At the end of the day, I got to build infrastructure. I got to upgrade stuff. And if I'm on calls all day talking about fa-la-la stuff that's coming down the pike, I can't get my job done. So I don't know how those people stick to that schedule though, Dan. You kind of triggered me of like, if you can schedule your day and stick to that schedule and do that every day, I'm either doing something wrong, or maybe it's just where they work that you can do that. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of people, especially now, do, multitasking. Like, I'm going to sit on this call and I'm going to do this other task. And you're really doing yourself a disservice, in my opinion. I mean, like, anytime that I've done that, I don't feel like I'm paying enough to attention to the thing that I'm doing. And I'm certainly not listening as closely as I could, to the details of what's going on in the call. And that's bit me in the ass on a couple of occasions.
I've
right?
broken
like,
things. Yeah. Same thing.
Like, people will ask me follow-up questions like, oh, hey, what about this? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, well, what, you on the call the other
I
day?
wasn't
Like,
listening.
Yeah, right.
They see my avatar. They know I'm on the Teams call, but...
And you know what's funny? When I was a cable guy, I think that was the first job I had where I had to manage time. Because you had like 8 tickets a day, you had 8 hours a day, and by the time you're driving back and forth to places, you have about 40 minutes a place to go, and that's not a hell of a lot of time. So and then if you have an install, you can have a triple play install take you 4 hours. So now you're down to 20 minutes a house, right?
Yeah.
So the way I overcame that was cut corners. You can't fix everything. You can't rewire everything. What do I got to do to fix this thing and get the hell out of here? Because the next person's going to get a $20 credit because I'm late. Then I'm going to get in trouble and blah, blah, blah. So as a cable guy, I could cut corners and not fix everything.
You wonder why cable service sucks.
Well, right. But in this job...
Driven by the wrong metrics.
Well, thank you. Right. So, but in this job, like, how do you cut a corner, right? You're building infrastructure, you're upgrading infrastructure. Like, you can't. So
you don't want to cut corners on this stuff.
Right. But how do you... So I don't know. It's just, it's a very interesting conversation. And I thought it was interesting that I spent a day and a half researching and nobody has an answer and everybody does it different. Some people say a to-do list is great. Some people say a to-do list is the worst thing you could do. Block your time. Don't block your time. Like, it's, there's probably a good book out there.
Subjective.
Aaron used to talk about Atomic Habits, which I'd almost have to guess probably has some good, tidbits in there on how to manage. Has anybody read that one? I keep hearing that.
I haven't read it. I listened to a podcast by the author, and some of the tidbits that I took away from that, the app that I use and stuff like that is referenced in Atomic Habits.
Okay.
Okay.
How much of this do you guys think relates to managing and ignoring distractions?
Big.
And one of the biggest things I'm talking about is this freaking thing, this phone.
Oh yeah,
I can't put this thing down, and you know what I did earlier today is I put it on vibrate and I flipped it over so it wouldn't even show me a flash if something popped up, because I just wanted to get on something and focus. And honestly, I think managing distractions is a huge thing. I've tried to spend less time just mindless scrolling on socials. I think that's a huge part of that, and I think that maybe.
So maybe I'm going to tell you about an app when you're done. So go ahead.
Okay. I think that maybe some of these people that do the whole scheduling and don't let anything get in their way, I think taking out distractions might be a factor. I don't know that for sure, but I think it almost has to.
Yeah, it comes down to that discipline, right? And Cal Newport's Deep Work, he wrote a great book. I read about half of it, but that's what he talks about. Like, it's all about managing distraction, and he talked about concentration as a muscle, just like anything else, and you have to work at it. And concentrating on something for 20 minutes uninterrupted, he said, is extremely difficult the first time you try it. But just like a muscle, the more you can do it, the longer and longer and longer you can concentrate. I know the Pomodoro technique is brought up a lot as a way to start, building that muscle. I turned all the notifications off on my phone, Tim, just because of what you're saying. That wasn't enough. So then I had to delete all the socials off my phone because I'd still look, even though there's not notifications. Because I think our brains want to avoid pain. And if I'm doing something unpleasant, I know I can get that dopamine hit if I just look at, oh, look, somebody said something funny on Twitter. Yeah. What's that app you got, AJ, that you were showing us there?
So it's along the lines of the Pomodoro technique. It's called Forest. I'm sorry, Forest. I know it so well.
They plant trees, right? If you screw up.
Yeah. So you set yourself up for like a Pomodoro for like 25 minutes, and you set it down, and the longer you don't touch your phone, the more your tree grows. So if you pick your phone up and use it, you have to swipe out of this app to use your phone, then that kills the tree. So the more cycles you complete, the more trees that grow in your forest. And the makers of the app will actually say, hey, if you plant enough trees, they'll actually plant a real tree.
Isn't it telling that app has to exist?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I would have an app full of weeds.
There's also
Cheech and Chong weed, or
there's also a VPN app that you can download that does a similar thing where it shuts all internet down on your phone and won't, in its time.
Right.
I mean, that's how addicted we are to distraction. And all the makers of all those, you guys probably saw Social Dilemma. Like, the smartest people on the planet are all working on distracting us because it's an attention economy. And the more we look at that crap, the more money they make with advertising. So, AI, the smartest thing in the world, is pointed at our brains to distract us. Like, it's pretty.
So I think I've said it before. Like, I used to get bothered and interrupted by every ring, ping, and ding that thing produces. Yeah. And one day I sat down and I turned off all of my notifications by default.
Same.
And then only turned on the ones that I felt deserved to be able to break my time or my concentration. So like, I don't get notified of every single email. I check my email like once an hour, and then I take care of it as I need to.
Are you talking about work email or personal?
Both.
Right.
Like, if somebody needs to contact me, they shouldn't be doing it by email. Like, we have Teams now. If something's really important, somebody should call or text me.
You just said a dirty word with Teams, because I was just going to bring that up. So again, what I need to do is shut Teams down and turn off my email and turn off my damn work phone, because otherwise, so this is another time management thing I struggle with, is I'm constantly checking email and I'm constantly watching Teams, because I know if I don't, in an hour, I'm going to have a bunch of stuff to catch up on. So it's almost as bad as being on a call the whole time being distracted, because I'm looking somewhere else. But
right.
I really struggle with it. It's hard. There's just too much. And brilliant people have written about this. There's TED Talks about it. I mean, we're more distracted than we've ever been. We have more time than we ever did. I was watching this TED Talk, and he said our great grandparents didn't have any time. He's like, they didn't have washing machines, so everything was by hand. They didn't have freezers, so they had to make all food from scratch. He's like, those people had no time. He's like, we have more time than we've ever had in human history, and we have the most problem with managing all this time that we have. It's just kind of, it's crazy. It's totally crazy. And I'd really, really like to manage my time better. And I just, no matter what I try, I finally went back to a pen and paper. I have, every morning I write a list of my top 3 things. And today I spent all day on the first one. I didn't get to the other 2, and I'll work on the other ones tomorrow. But that's my time management. I do block time in Outlook, but it just seems to move and move and move. And, I don't really know if, I don't know if there's a better way to do it. So
if you set blocks on your calendar and things continue to move, do you think that you have too many things set? Is it expectations that need to get managed, or is it just the constant distraction? Somebody always needs something, and it takes X amount of time to focus on something. You finally get focused, and then you get pulled away. Or is it a combination?
For me?
Yeah, for you, Andy.
I mean, work-wise, if I'm understanding your question, I can tell you the biggest difference in the past year and a half to 2 years. I used to have an average of 2 hours of calls a day that I was expected to be on. Now it's 6 hours of calls a day, and I'm not exaggerating.
What?
I could show you my calendar. So, we're talking culture. Again, I'm not complaining, and I'm grateful and all that good stuff, but like, I I don't know when I'm supposed to do my actual job of engineering because there are all these calls that I'm expected to be on. So I don't think that's exactly what you asked, but my biggest challenge with all this, and I can't say calls or distractions, but like,
Well, yeah.
I think they can be.
Well,
I think
yeah.
meetings can be a distraction.
Absolutely.
right. Like I can tell you yesterday I had 2 hours of meetings that I had to be on, and they were both a complete waste of time. One was a sales call that none of us had to be on. You know, it was a vendor, get to know you, blah, blah, blah. Yay. But like, I got too much work to do. I really got too much work to do. And it's really that, respect of time, and all of our meetings start late and go over. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want to get
when you
myself in
said,
trouble here, but I'm being honest about like time management challenges. And I think there's a lot of things being done that are kind of damaging to it's almost impossible to manage. I even talked to my boss about it today. I'm like, dude, how do you do it? Because he's busier than I am. And I'm pretty sure he works 14 hours a day. Because, well, yeah, you know what I mean? So I don't know, man.
So
Yeah, when you said that you're averaging, 6 hours of calls or meetings a day, I was going to congratulate you for getting promoted to manager.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think one thing for me too, just to pivot a little bit, is how do you set priorities right? Like, because at where I work, it seems like everything that comes in is a priority one.
Yes, say that again.
At the highest priority.
Yes.
And I struggle with that, right? Like I struggle with, so one thing I do, I kind of make my own little to-do list. Sometimes I'll use like Notepad++. Sometimes I'll use Teams. It varies. I drift on systems and stuff like that. But ultimately, I make me a little checklist, right? And as people call in or I get emails about stuff, or projects that I'm working on, I make a list of things that I need to be working on, and I'll put like a little X beside them as I knock them out. But my biggest problem is, how do I say that this is more important than this? Is that something that we as the employees should be doing, or is that should be a management should be very clear on what needs to be.
The management in the business ultimately should be driving the priorities, right? Like,
right.
And if the management tells you everything's a priority, then by definition, nothing is a priority.
Yeah.
And I've been under that for years. Everything is a priority. And yeah, Dan, how can you prioritize a manager time when everything is equally as important? It just, and it's insanity.
That's something I struggle with.
Sure.
Because I always feel like if I'm doing something, I probably should be working on this rather than this. And that's like my day 24/7.
I worked at a company that had this, it was this thing that they referred to as rocks. So major projects were large rocks and smaller projects were small rocks. And the idea is that we have to clear the path for company success. So we have to get the large rocks out of the way, and those are the priority. Small rocks, we can probably just drive over, but if we can get those out of the way too, that'll make things a little bit smoother for us. So if something were attached to a large rock project, that was a priority. And things that were attached to small rock projects, if we weren't working on a large rock project, we could then work on these small rock projects. So that helped, that definitely helped drive what was a priority versus what wasn't, or what we could give time to over other things, right? Because there's always going to be something asking for your time. So it's just a matter of, when faced with a dilemma, which one of these is associated with a large rock, ergo, that's the one I work on.
And I think, unfortunately, something that some people will do is they will attach whatever their issue is to that's actually that's on the big rock, right. Although it might not
they know
be.
How to play the game,
yeah,
exactly. So you have to kind of deal with that.
That's definitely a culture thing, because if everything that you're doing is a running and diving catch, then you're just gonna get worn out, right? Like,
oh yeah,
not everything has to be the game winning diving catch, right? There's definitely got to be some grounders and some infield plays too. So at some point,
do you think that most companies are trying to get the most productivity out of their people, as possible, right? Like,
Well, sure. I mean, why not? I mean, most knowledge workers are salaried employees, so
Right.
the more that they work, the more work that you get done, even if it comes at a cost of working, more hours. Like, doesn't affect their bottom line when it comes down to it. They're paying the same for you whether you work 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours.
and I don't know what the
Mhm.
breakdown is, but I know like I don't generate revenue for my company. I'm a cost center. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not like I'm in sales where I'm bringing in
I
money.
think all
So-
IT is.
Right. So I had this thought the other day as I was talking to my wife. I'm like, we don't generate revenue for the company. So like, it's not that big of a surprise to me that, I don't know, I could see them being like, let's beat the hell out of these people as much as we can because like, it's just a cost center and they're draining us and they haven't made us a dime, as opposed to like, oh, the sales guys, hell, hey, we got to throw them some more bonuses because, they're keeping the lights on.
Right.
Like, I don't know,
So the whole cost center thing is an interesting conversation, and I'm sure that we could have a whole episode on this. But I have worked in several environments that did chargebacks. So
like business units kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. And so then suddenly we went from a cost center to we actually made a little bit of profit, right? Like we charged, we rented laptops like every month. Somebody paid a monthly rental fee for a laptop. If there was problems or issues, help desk tickets got associated to cost centers or business units, and then we could track like who's costing the help desk more time, kind of thing. Like every bit of IT's time was tracked and then made billable back to other departments to show that like, hey, this is why we're here.
That's nice.
There's another. Just looking at my notes. So like you mentioned distraction, Tim. I wanted to mention procrastination as well.
Oh, don't get me started.
Right. And
If you need a SME on procrastination, you're talking to him right here.
well, yeah. So again, I was having a conversation with my manager because I knew we were doing this episode tonight and he's really good at managing his time. And I asked him like, man, what's your secret? And I don't really think we got there, but the one thing he told me, because he was an architect, engineer, worked his way up, and he said one thing that he learned that was really helpful for him is identifying procrastination, like being honest with yourself. Like, what are you procrastinating? And I had like an honest moment. I'm like, and then I had a specific thing. This cloud thing I'm doing tonight, I was given it like 5 weeks ago, and I was so overwhelmed by it because I just didn't understand it, and it was an 800-pound elephant that I had to try to figure out. I put it off because I procrastinated on it because it was intimidating and I'm like, it was just overwhelming, So it was a horrible management of my time deciding to do other things because this was a thing that had to get done and I procrastinated. So not so much a distraction, but kind of a willful, semi-subconscious, like, what? I'm not going to do this today,
So I'm glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
that was something that I put in my notes as something I wanted to talk about. So like you put a priority on everything and then you suddenly shift your priorities to your own, I don't know, liking. Obviously
Yeah.
procrastination is what it is.
Yeah. You
But
can
yeah,
set a
don't-
priority and have an app and all that stuff, but like,
Right. But if you're gonna abuse your own priorities in that way to suddenly make something more of a priority just because you don't want to deal with the other thing, then you're just doing yourself a disservice.
which makes me think of another word and a particular person that we just had on. Because we're talking about all these systems and how
Right.
and apps and and distraction and procrastination. We had a kick-ass woman on here recently.
Yeah.
And she was
You get 5 seconds.
Yeah, she was, to me, my takeaway was it was all about discipline. And I
Yes.
looked up discipline earlier, right? Control gained by enforcing obedience. Tanaya, right? So, like, I don't know, man. This might all come down, at least for me, to discipline. What is it that overcomes distraction and procrastination and excuses and like, why aren't I studying? Like all that crap. She was just like, I just do it. There are no excuses. I don't want to hear you either do it or you don't. She said something like, when it's 3 a.m. and you're on that treadmill, your body doesn't know the difference between if your mind is tired or not. You'll still burn the same amount of calories. I was like, damn, like that's, so just being a badass
Facts.
and being disciplined. Right. Maybe if I was more disciplined, I wouldn't have procrastinated this cloud job for a month and I wouldn't pick up my phone as much as I do to see what you guys are up to during the day because I'm sick of looking at a CLI and, I think discipline
So maybe
is big.
So maybe the question is how do you get more discipline? Maybe that's an episode right there. Like how to be
I think
disciplined.
For me, more discipline came when I saw results, right? Like when I decided to spend the time doing that thing that maybe I didn't want to do or was procrastinating against. When I got the results and it was worth my time, that's when I decided, there's the discipline, right? Like I went through a weight loss journey. It was very hard to start. I got started. I dedicated the time. I saw the results, and I realized it was worth my time.
Yeah.
So,
can I have an honest, vulnerable moment with you guys? Like the how of it, right? Like is seeing the results.
Yeah.
So I just had a vacation, and it's the most relaxed I've been in years. And you get used to anything, and I guess being like short and irritable and tired, like it just kind of became my norm. Unfortunately, I just kind of got used to the grind of it, and being removed from it for a week and going somewhere wonderful. And I really had a profound experience of like, whoa, okay, this is the dad and the husband. And even for myself, this is how I want to feel. Like, I don't want to feel this pain in my body of being under the weight of the world constantly. And yeah, COVID made it harder and stuff. But like, long story short is that I decided when I was there, I am not going to return to my life and continue living. Like, what am I doing? It was like a wake up call. So I decided every morning to get up at 5:15 in the morning, which I've been doing all week. And I meditate for 15 to 20 minutes. And then I go work out for an hour. Now, the results, what you're talking about, this week, returning to work, which is a stressful environment. It's more stressful than sitting by the beach in the Outer Banks, North Carolina, watching the pelicans fly by and the wild horses scatter by. But I've returned to the same stressful environment I was before that really had me grumpy. And I've had a really damn good week up till this point. And I think it's the discipline of going to bed early, getting up early, doing the things I need to do for self-care and mental health to feel better and be a better dad, husband, colleague, whatever. Now I'm seeing results. Now, this isn't the first time I've done a reboot and felt better. So, I can do it for a little bit of time, but there seems to be like, I start to feel better and then I forget why I feel better. And then I start staying up late and stop doing the stuff in the morning. And then weeks go by and you guys call me out on like, dude, why are you so bitchy right now? You know what I mean? So,
Andy, have a Snickers. You're not yourself.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, Andy, is
you sound like my
take more
therapist.
vacations.
What I'm hearing.
I was just going to say that.
How does that
Dan,
make you feel?
Have you been
Please,
taking night classes,
explain.
Dan? What are you doing?
Dan's getting a certificate. What I'm hearing you say. No, for sure, Dan. It's but I like what you said, AJ, because when you do see the results,
Yeah.
it's very motivating. But it starts with discipline. I do not like going to bed early. I do not like waking up early, and my body hurts from working out all week. But like my daughter, she's 3 years old, and mom has always been her favorite. And it hurts my heart sometimes. Like, oh, this little girl, I wish she liked me more. She fell in love with me on vacation, and now she's by my side constantly. Like, you talk about motivation and results and things to want to keep you going. Like, she's my best friend for the first time in her 3 years of life. So I'm like, oh shit. I gotta, I can't blow this. So like, there's a lot on the line, career, family, it's
a freaking juggling act.
It really is, man. It's, and these kids have no idea. They're coming in today and I'm on my technical ERB and I'm presenting technical stuff. And they're like, Daddy, my SpongeBob isn't working. I'm like, would you get out of here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No, and I think that's something else too about like time management. So one thing I've been doing is I've been trying to get better at blocking off, like you kind of said, getting off of social media and stuff, especially while my kid is awake and playing and all that. Because
have you been caught looking at your phone and your kid's trying to get your attention? It's awful.
Awful. There's been multiple times where like I've gotten so distracted and looking at my phone or something, whatever's going on, and I look up and my kid's sitting there. He's like right in front of me and he's been saying my name.
I know.
And it's just like, what am I doing?
It's heartbreaking.
What am I doing?
Yep.
Why am I?
It shows
am
the
I sitting
power.
here?
It shows the power of this.
It
stuff.
does. Seriously.
It becomes more important than our offspring. It's insane. I mean, not really, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
our lives are what we give attention to, right? Our
Mhm.
lives are the results of our choices and what gets our attention. And like, yeah, like, sorry, kid, you know, I gotta see what the hell AJ said today and come up with a witty retort. Like,
Yeah.
it was happening
Exactly.
today. Like, even on vacation, the phones went away. It was off. It was nothing. I deleted all this. So I didn't call anybody. I was gone and it was great. But today we're outside and something was going on today with us with the side chat. And I'm like, oh, and my son's like, come on, Dad. You know, you said you were going to play baseball. And man, all this makes me want to throw the damn phone. I'm going to go old school and just get a flip phone and delete everything. And, yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. So
You
so
just
for
made
me
sad,
personally,
Dan.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I had to be like real honest there for a minute, you know, like
Yeah.
but for me though, I tried to block off as much as I can, and that's kind of why, like, you know, you were talking about our group texts and stuff like that. It, you know, I might go several hours where I don't respond or something. It's because I'm trying to mentally block out, like, you know, stuff like that. Because you know, we put our kid to bed around 7:30, somewhere around there. And so after that, I'm like, okay, that's where I can have me time, or, you know, me and my wife time, that kind of thing. But I try my best to, but when I get off work to the time that we put the kid to bed, I try my best to try to sit there and focus on just, you know, whatever he's getting into and that kind of thing. Doesn't always work,
Yeah.
but, you know, and I think that goes back to discipline too, seeing results. You know, when you're having fun with your kid and everything, like he's a mama's boy. He's definitely all about her. And here lately, it's like, I don't know what it is, but here lately, you know, he's starting to be more about me and stuff like that. And so it's like, feels so good, you know. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, I'm blocking this out. You know,
they come.
The results.
They come around. And I even did a similar thing, Dan. I think I said it to the group. I know I at least said it to AJ. I was like, listen, man, I'm deleting Discord and stuff off my phone. Like, if you need me, here's my number. Text me, because it's just I struggle too much with getting pulled into all that stuff. Like, I need to unplug and be with my kids, and because otherwise, I'm just looking at my damn phone and my kids are there. I'm like, what am I doing? And you know, I mean, I like what we're doing, but none of it's that important that I should be ignoring my kids to see, like, you know, what the latest thing somebody said was. So
right.
Yeah.
And I think you need to know that there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because what you're doing is you're doing that prioritization and you're sticking to it, which I think is really important.
But it's the same thing with the emails, Tim, because when I sign back on, there's like 73 messages I missed. And I'm like, oh, now I got to catch up and see what everybody's talking about in the AONE, like, Discord thing. I mean, it's my own nonsense, but then I got to get caught. It's the same reason I'm staring at work emails all day. Like, I'll unplug, but then when I hop on, I'm like, oh, I got to catch up. Like, I almost need a detox. I think I need rehab
I'll go back like 5 minutes and read, and then try to get the gist. And if I have questions, I'll ask. Like, I used to just log into the Discord and try to read every single message, and now that we have like almost 1,500 members, like, it's impossible. You know, I can't do
that used to bug me so bad too, and then I just kind of had to give up on it. Right, I just can't keep up with everything that's going on.
And you want to be engaged and keep up and contribute and stuff, but it's like, where does it end? You know, like,
right.
Yeah, and kind of hit on what you were talking about, the emails. Like, I almost dread going on vacation because of the amount of emails I have to come back to. It's like I got to spend my first day back pretty much just sorting through all my emails.
You know what I did? So that's another thing for time management, and I don't know if it's what you guys do, but I have a folder for important things, and then I create rules in Outlook to put it in folders. So managers is the most important for me because got to keep them happy, right? So so when I got back from vacation, I read through the managers, and then I right-clicked, mark all as read, the rest of the shit, and I said, you know what? If it's that important, it'll get back to me. They got my out of office, and because I refuse to go through 600-700 emails. Like, yeah,
I'm right there with you, man. So I am kind of a little bit of an email Nazi. Like, I've got a million folders. And if there's something in my inbox, that means I haven't answered it yet, right? So I move everything out of my inbox into, you know, whatever my folder structure is. And so when I come in and there's like 400 emails in my inbox, it's just like, oh, because I've got to go through it, you know. I've got to.
But don't you feel like that helps you manage your time? Like you can prioritize all those emails, so it's not just one big inbox, but like do you do folders and stuff and like rules? You think that helps you? I think it helps.
I think it helps with keeping track of what's going on
and prioritization, right? Like some emails are more important than others.
I've got to answer this email. For sure.
And if you're on vacation and somebody emailed you, how important was it? You know what I mean? They saw you're out of office, like they know you're back. They can hit you again. I don't know. It's might be the wrong way to look at it, but like, I was calling, man. Email me again if you need me. You know what I mean? You should have called if it was important.
Right. But see, that's another thing too. So like I work with a guy who so at our work, they give us the option of giving us a phone and you using that as your personal phone and work phone, or you can get a separate phone, and that's what I do. I've got two phones, right? One's my work phone and one's my personal phone.
I thought that was a little TV in your left hand there.
Yeah, that's the personal
what
phone.
the heck?
That's not
a phablet. It's a phablet.
Samsung iPhone. Yeah.
He's holding up his 50-inch Vizio in his hand. That's not
like,
a
hey,
phone.
What's going on, guys?
Crocodile Dundee, that's not a knife. That's not a phone.
But so I split mine out, right? And I work with a guy who he didn't split his out, and he got so much anxiety from every little notification that goes off and everything like that. He just recently decided I'm splitting them because you
gotta have a separation.
And that comes back to like, being on call 24/7 type thing.
You don't get paid enough to work 24/7.
I know.
I mean, none of us do.
Yeah.
But the company will gladly
they'll
give
stick
you
it
enough
to
work
you
to keep you that busy.
So that's another thing too. Like every once in a while, especially if I'm on vacation, I'll take my work phone with me just in case there's something that just absolutely horrible has happened. Luckily, that hasn't happened yet, but I don't carry it with me everywhere I go if I'm on vacation. Like I might leave it let's say if I go to the beach or something like that, I'll leave it at the hotel or the, wherever we're at, if we're at an Airbnb or whatever the case may be, I'll leave it there, but I don't take it with me everywhere.
I wanted to ask Tim, because I know that you were like, I mean, you got 4 kids, some of them are little, and I know the vertical that you work in, and they're, it's probably intense and stuff. So like, I mean, how do you manage your time, decently, and what are you doing? I mean, what are you doing right or wrong? Do you have any kind of like takeaways or tips of like, hey, here's what I do that works, or like, don't do this because, it's not good?
I'll say in the last year, I've gotten better. I mean, we've talked about the going to bed early, getting up early kind of thing, and that's still working for the most part. One thing that I have done recently that I really like is I've tried to turn a negative into a positive. And one of the things that I see as one of my many character flaws is that I have anxiety. I have a hard time being idle. I can't be still. I have to be doing something most of the time, unless I'm in the evenings. I'll sit down on the couch and my wife and I will watch a show. But even then, if I do that, I have to put my phone out of arm's reach because I have an issue. I mean, I've gotten so tied to that thing. And even just sitting here right now, talking to you guys for the last hour, I have noticed myself pick it up and I'll force myself to not even take it off the table. I don't know, it's a thing. But what I've tried to do is I see that as a negative. So I try to turn it into a positive, in that, okay, if I have a couple minutes where I am idle and the kids are off doing their thing, so I don't feel like if I look at my phone, I'm not paying attention to them, that kind of thing. I will do some advice that I learned here. Is I started doing the Yankee flashcards. So I tell myself, okay, you can pick up your phone, but you're not going to scroll through Facebook. You're not going to scroll through Twitter. If you want to pick up your phone, you hit that Anki button and you go through 3 to 5 cards.
And that's more discipline, right? Like getting up in the morning is discipline, going to bed early is discipline, using Anki instead of the other stuff that'll give you that dopamine hit. I mean, it all seems to be, it's about the choices we're making, I guess, right?
Yeah, but don't get me wrong. I still feel like I struggle just like the rest of you guys. I don't know that you'll find many people that say it's easy.
Yeah.
I do. Well, and I was going to say Tanea, but even Tanea said it's not easy. You make a choice.
Right.
And the choice doesn't always have to and isn't always easy, but you make that choice. So yeah, I don't know that you'll really find anybody who says that it's easy.
And each choice has a cost, right? There's sacrifice.
Oh, exactly.
For all of it. So
sacrifice
there's
is
pain
huge.
involved, right? Like,
you know, and I think about that. I've been thinking about that a lot lately because I'm like, okay, I spend probably close to 2 hours most mornings studying, going through flashcards, doing the white papers, the OCG, all that stuff. I could just as easily hang out with my wife a couple more hours at night, sleep in the mornings, and I wouldn't have any of that. So it's making a choice because I know I've got the long game right. I know what I want to do with my life. I know where I want to take it, and I know that that comes with sacrifice. So it's managing that sacrifice, managing the distractions, and just taking it day by day, I think, is a big thing. Finding that balance of, yes, you have a long-term plan, but you kind of have that high-level plan that can have peaks and valleys, and then you just take everything else day by day. Not every day is going to be super awesome fun time, and just get that out of the way right away and just take it day by day. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, but it's a marathon, not a sprint, right?
And having that support system is huge because that was one of the things that I talked about on vacation with my wife. I'm like, listen, I think we would hang out 2 nights a week. Just like, let's sit down, have some ice cream, watch TV or whatever. And because of this thing I'm trying to do to like feel better and be a better, version of myself, I was like, listen, I think I need to just buckle down, get to bed early all week. Like, we'll hang out on the weekends. And fortunately, she's been on board. And she's been on board for, we were first dating. I'm like, oh, sorry, I got to go to like school 4 hours Friday and 4 hours Saturday for the CCNA thing and like study all the time. And like she was on board, but would have been really hard. It might have not worked out if she was like, hell no, I need all your time. This isn't working for me. Like, you got to have a support system, at least at this stage in our lives, right? Like,
And if you do have that good support system, which I think the 4 of us do not neglect it.
Yeah.
Don't take it for granted. Even if that support system does understand what you're trying to do, the discipline that you're trying to have, do set that time aside that's necessary to give back to that support system that's doing so much for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well put, Tim. I mean, in order for you to have a support system, you also have to support it too, right? Like,
yeah, not a one-way street.
Right. Absolutely not. Andy, you've brought it up a couple times tonight. So the dopamine hit you get from playing with your phone. I've heard a good tactic is to spend a day being absolutely bored, right? Like, so put away the phone, don't do anything fun or exciting, and just kind of reset for you what gives you that dopamine hit. So like, clean the house and do other things instead of playing with your phone all day. Like, and then once you have some accomplishments, you'll see like, oh, hey, like this feels good. Like I just checked Twitter kind of.
Yeah. I'm never bored. I don't understand boredom. Like Tim kind of said, he's got that busy mind and he's always doing, like I have half a dozen hobbies that I have hardly any time to,
I guess not boredom, but what gives you the dopamine hit kind of thing.
Yeah.
What gives you that
like when
you're
I walk
readjusting
in the morning.
it is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Realignment of that.
Being outside, like when I walk in the morning, the sun's coming up, there's deer walking around. Dan mentioned camping as we were talking, before the podcast. Like that
deer walking around? Where the hell do you live?
Dude, I got more deer poop on my lawn than you can imagine. It's ridiculous. There's deer everywhere here. But yeah, I'd much rather be,
Sounds like you got a hunting problem.
I'd much rather be outside breathing some fresh air, with some sun on my face, getting my dopamine that way than this nonsense, make pretend. We're basically in the Matrix trying to choose between the red and the blue pill most of the time. It's like, So yeah, no, that's a good. I really, I want to get rid of my smartphone. I really do. I don't want it anymore. And I want to delete all my social media accounts. I don't think I can because we're on this podcast and we got to promote and but I want to get rid of it all. Like, what the hell am I doing on there? I was off Facebook for years and got on to promote the podcast. Guess what? I haven't promoted the podcast at all. Connected with a bunch of people I haven't talked to in 20 years from high school. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing back on this thing? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I want out. You guys are going to have to promote without me. I'll go back to the Stone Ages with my flip phone.
Yeah.
To try to close it up, I think that what we've heard here is that there's no smoking gun. There's no like real way to do time management. What's going to work for you is what's going to work for you. I shared some stuff that works for me. Prioritization, taking out the stuff that doesn't give you benefit. Like I think those are all steps that will contribute to your success. And from what I'm hearing from other people too, I think it's along the same lines, right? Like find your priorities, really put a priority on it, and give your time to, either things that give back or help you in some way, shape, or form. Or definitely spending time on things like support systems, friends, family, loved ones, stuff like that. Even though it might not be studying for the next cert, it's stuff that definitely deserve your time.
And none of it works without discipline.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
It's the
I
glue.
need a little bit more of that.
That's a bummer. We're gonna do a discipline episode soon. Just yell at each other.
I'm out.
Just get Tanaya to come on here and yell at us for an hour.
Yeah.
Got to crack the seltzer rather than a beer, and that's hard to do sometimes.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself, AJ.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, I want to remind people that we have a merch shop. And that all of the profits from our merch shop support the podcast and cover our costs. And after we cover our costs, we like to do some fun giveaways. We're looking to do some improvements to the podcast and bring more content to you. So if you like what you're listening to here, make sure you head on over to artofneteng.com/store.
And if you have any suggestions on what you're looking for, if there's something that you wish we had that we don't, we have open communication channels. Like, hey, I want a beer mug or something. Like, let us know, and we'll see what the vendors out there can
A1
create.
pint glass.
I don't know.
I'm all about it.
It's probably stuff we haven't thought of. We could try to get in the store for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're going to try to do, once we have some good funds, we might do some like special giveaways, right? Like we'll buy 100, maybe we'll buy 100 pint glasses and give those away, or make them for limited sale kind of thing. All the proceeds that come back to us, we're not going to live high on the hog, that's for sure. All we want to do is cover our costs for doing this, and then give back the rest of the community, which I hope folks have already seen that we've done on a couple of occasions by giving away the books, the Raspberry Pis, and the other giveaways that we've done. So we want to do more of that, and I'm sure you all that listen want more of that. So the easiest way is buy a shirt. Go online, check out the store, see something you like, buy it. And when you do that, if you're in the Discord, throw in your Discord handle and a happy message, and that will pop up in the A1 fans stream. So you can see a special shout out every purchase on Teespring and our website store. So thanks in advance for all your support. All 80,000 downloads, fellas. I keep refreshing it every couple of minutes here. When
Didn't
I
we
go
just
look
hit
at the
another
stats on the
milestone
webpage.
too for the month? Wasn't there like?
Yeah. So for the
13
month
or
of May, we still have several days left, so anything can happen. But we broke 13,000 downloads.
That's awesome.
For a single month. of
Andy,
May.
get the damn goat.
Yeah.
So what was our previous highest number?
Like 10,500, something like that.
That'd be
so. Not only
30%.
did we break it, we shattered it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so
and,
awesome.
and I say we, like it's something that we did. No, it's something that our listeners did.
Yeah.
And obviously we have a bunch more listeners, so welcome. I'm
Thank
seeing
you.
hits on
Welcome.
all 45 of our episodes. So there are definitely newcomers here. You're binge listening, you're checking us out, or maybe you're going back through the catalog. I'm not sure. Either way, every time you download an episode, it counts. It's ringing the bell for us. We're seeing it. It gets us excited. It keeps us motivated to keep us doing this. So I checked earlier this evening, and we are less than 400 downloads away from 80,000. So if we don't hit that tonight, I'm sure we will hit that tomorrow, which will be a great way to end the work week by hitting 80,000 downloads.
It's really cool. And what episode are we on? Do we know what episode number
this
will be?
is episode 45.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
So 50 will be another cool milestone too. Maybe we'll look for something fun to do for episode 50.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned. Fun things are coming.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Any parting words, fellas? Dan, what's on the tip of your tongue? I can tell you're holding on to something there.
I don't even know. I don't know.
That was awesome.
It just looked like you had
anybody's-
something profound hidden in that beard. Maybe it's just a bird.
Yeah, it hold on. Let me see.
Tweet,
Yeah.
tweet.
Yeah. Also, if anybody is planning on, buying, a Boson, is it
Yes.
the XM and the NextSim? If you are planning on buying that, we have a link that you can go through, and unfortunately it doesn't give you a discount, but we do get a little bit of a kickback off of that. So that goes back to what AJ was talking about. If you want to support us and you're planning on doing this already, please use our link. We'd
It's a
appreciate it.
referral code. We'll drop a link in the show notes. So if you're planning on buying any Boson product, not just XM or NextSim or whatever,
Oh, okay. Any of them.
any if you use the link, it has our referral code attached to it. So any sale through that link will ultimately 10% of that sale will come back to us, and in the form of just a referral kickback or whatever. So for a limited time, Boson was doing a discount code. Perhaps we can talk to them and see if they're interested in doing that again. But for now, it's just a referral. They are happy to float us money, and I think we've all had great experiences with their products and can speak to it's a worthy purchase if you're on the fence. So if you're going to buy it, why not buy it through our link?
And what our listeners may not, well, definitely don't know, is that there's a lot of things happening in the background that we don't announce. For example, we have been approached by a handful of people who are like, "Hey, I got a bunch of gear that I'd love to give away that you guys can have."
Right.
Mhm.
The challenge of that is it costs, I don't know, around $100, give or take, to ship all that stuff somewhere. So,
Yep,
we did a few,
sure.
but it starts to add up, and we don't really, we're not making money off this, right? Like you said, we're not getting rich, but like all those purchases that can build up, like
Mhm.
enable us to do things like that. There's things we're working on in the background that we don't announce that, so the more purchase, if you go to Teespring, if you get that Boson thing, I'm not trying to buy a Tesla or get a bigger pool. We really want to
I'm definitely trying to get a Lambo though. That is on my list.
We want to reinvest this in the community. And, we could send out some home labs. We could send out some books, some test vouchers. I don't know. Maybe someday try to send somebody to Cisco Live. We
absolutely.
just got to kind of see. So, yeah, please help support us and help us help you. I just want to thank you guys for this conversation, because this is a challenge that's, near and dear to my heart that I struggle with daily. And it's part of why I love this show so much, is I get to come on here and learn stuff and how different people are doing different things. And I'm sitting here in my home office thinking I'm doing everything wrong. And at the very least, it's comforting knowing that other people have the same struggles. And, I will have Tanaya in my head tomorrow when I start to, struggle, and I'm like, oh, just got to be disciplined. Suck it up, dude.
5 seconds.
You got 5 seconds? Over. Go do what's got to be done. So I just really appreciate the show, you guys, and what I get to learn here. So that's my parting thoughts.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Tim, parting thoughts?
Take it day by day. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't fear the reaper.
And it's all small stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, just like I always say, take care of each other out there. Try to smile. Try to make somebody laugh. Have fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, one
I love
more
it.
thing. Welcome Tim to the podcast.
Yeah, welcome Tim,
Thanks, guys.
new permanent co-host to the team.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking on behalf of the crew, thank you so much for listening, and have a great night. Hey everyone, this is AJ. If you like what you heard today, then make sure you subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcatcher. Smash that bell icon to get notified of all of our future episodes. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Art of NetEng. That's Art of NETENG. You can also find us on the web at artofnetworkengineering.com, where we post all of our show notes. You can read blog articles from the co-hosts and guests, and also a lot more news and info from the networking world. Thanks for listening.